Hello there, aloha and akuna matata. I'm Sifu Slim, and I'm here visiting a very dear friend of mine, Lee Lewis, who is a big, strong, athletic guy. And we've met many times over the past 5 years, and he's a doer, and I am more of a maintainer. So we're going to learn a little bit about what doers can do with a piece of land that didn't have a whole lot on it for a long time, decades or maybe even longer than that. And we'll see what he did. He's got a mind to create and produce, and he's got a designer's mind. He's got architectural background, artistic background, music background, and he's also an athlete. Did a lot of things, and we'll talk to him a little bit about his athletic life from a kid all the way till now. And we'll check in with Lee starting now. There he is. Lee Lewis from Montana.
Am I on the air?
You're on the air.
All right. Well, you were talking about what was here 5 years ago. November 2016 is the beginning of this, and what you're about to see was a backyard, and there was something here. It was dirt. It was just pure
Wasn't
dirt.
a lot of food though.
Well, the only growth was like 8-foot tall California grass behind the garden shed.
So there was goat food.
Yeah, but we had no goats, so we used a shovel and dug out the roots, and that's where we started.
You said we.
Yeah, me, myself, and I to start with, but for the last few years, a young gentleman from the Philippines has really done a lot in helping keep things going, and it's out of control. You'll see why in just a little bit.
More food than a man like you could eat.
Probably 10 men like me could eat, and more. And everybody, it's ikomomai. That is, you're welcome here.
You're welcome. Ikomo mai.
Ikomomai. So, okay, mind you, this was all dirt. Maybe just span it, and we'll take a look at it in just a little bit.
How many gardens have you built yourself over the past lifetime? Well, you grew up on a farm.
I grew up on an organic farm, and not because it was such a hip thing to do. It's because that was the only thing to do.
That's how your dad provided income for a while?
Yes, until, yeah, this is a sore spot. Until when I was 4, I burned down the granary.
By mistake.
I was playing with matches. It was by mistake. I didn't go out there I wasn't an arsonist. I was a 4-year-old playing with matches. But, I confessed 54 years later. So that was...
On a TV show, right?
On a radio show.
On a radio show.
Yeah. Garrison Keillor's Prairie Home Companion show. He read my card that I sent in. I was in the live audience that day too. Yeah, so we had an organic garden as well. I mean, that was just, we had turkeys that we raised, and we'd move the pen around every couple of years, and then 2 years later, that would be the spot where we grew the garden, because it had time for the turkey poop to burn off the nitrogen, and it was the yields we had in our gardens was just unbelievable.
What did you have? You had a 3-month growing season?
Yeah, 3-4 months. Maybe as much as 5 for some of the roots, like potatoes and parsnips and turnips and rutabagas and things like that.
How many acres in Montana?
Well, in Minnesota.
Or Minnesota.
Well, we had 160, and then when my grandmother died, we got another 160. That's 320. But the garden itself was probably 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. But the
that was in Minnesota?
That was in Minnesota.
What happened in Montana?
I don't know.
Nothing.
We visited Montana once when I was a kid. That's when I was 5. I learned how to lasso, because my dad had a friend that moved to Montana. We went out there to visit, and it was cowboy country, and I learned how to lasso. Get the hook on there and just go like that, and I could take down any mailbox, no problem at all.
Could you tell me about the visualization how old you were, and when you decided that you wanted to be a larger person as an adult?
Well, when I was a sophomore in high school, I was 5'10" and not exceptionally tall. I mean, that's more than the average, but I wanted to be the tallest in my class. And so I started the summer of my sophomore year praying every night that I would return and be the tallest in my class. And in 3 months, I grew 4 inches slender. I gained 40 pounds and became slender, and came back 3 months later, 6'2" from 5'10". And so I believe in the power of prayer, or affirmations. You put it out there in the universe what you want. That's how I realized the power of that.
So before that large size, you had coordination?
So my dad was big on jumping rope.
Mm-hmm.
So he had his jump rope a lot. And so that helps in coordination. And that summer that I grew 4 inches and gained 40 pounds and became even more coordinated and slender than I was when, well, here's the thing, back when I was a sophomore, blue jeans in those days came with this patch in the back right here. I think they're still on, yeah, right there underneath.
With your sizes, your width? Yeah.
No, it just said slim, regular, or husky. It might as well have said fatso than husky. At least now they put guess, so you have a fighting chance of sucking your stomach in and making it look like you.
So at by junior year, you were how tall and how heavy?
6'10", and I gained 40 pounds, so I was probably around 200 pounds by that time.
And how tall?
6'2".
6'2".
Yeah, and so I also wanted to be then the tallest in my family. So I kept up with the prayers, and I grew another 1.5 inches when I was in college to 6'3.5".
And what sports were you doing in high school and college?
Well, through college I played football, baseball, and basketball. But the sport I really excelled at was table tennis. I had a lot of international friends, and table tennis is big. Ping pong is big internationally. And when I lived, I taught school in Denmark, or it was student teaching in Denmark, and I joined the International Student Center in Copenhagen, Denmark, and we had international competitions there. I won international competitions in table tennis. I was good.
As a big dude,
a big dude, yeah. I came in second in singles, and a guy from Bangladesh, and I came in first in doubles.
Wow.
But I'd go down to the International Center every night.
Did you ever have to pick him up to move him out of the way?
No. We really good coordination between the two of us. It was a lot of fun, actually.
How did you get into dancing?
Well, I guess originally it was before I could walk, because my mom would hold me up and she'd be playing music in the background, and she'd be walking, dancing with it. So I think I might have developed a little bit of rhythm there, because she would do the waltz and the polka, with me flinging around in her arms. So that was part of it. But the real reason was when I was a fourth grader, I was trying out for the class play as a fourth grader, 10 years old, right? Big deal. And I was in love with Gloria, one of my classmates, and there was a song, Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer due. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It won't be a stylish marriage. I can't afford a carriage, but you'll look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. And I wanted to be the part. She got the female part, so I was really trying to get the male part. But Tim beat me out, god dang it, so he got to sing the duet with her. And that put a mental block. I haven't been a singer since. I'm just getting it over now. I joined Toastmasters a few years ago just because they're a captive audience. And I sang as part of my presentations when I gave speeches just to help overcome the fear of singing in public. But that same year, we had a 6-week PE section on square dancing, 10 years old. And I made the final square to dance in front of the Parent-Teacher Association, the PTA. And so there was just 8 of us on stage doing a square dance. And the adulation of being on stage and the applause, it's like, whoa, this is for me. So that got me into it. And so I joined a local square dance club that met in the basement of a friend of mine's, and her mother was the caller. Element left with your left hand, here we go, right and left grand, and they had all sorts of songs. So I became a pretty good square dancer, and we had the privilege of dancing at intermissions at rodeos. And so we got to dance in front of some pretty big crowds, actually. And we were called the Swinging Squares. And we were teenagers. The Swinging Teens, that's what we went by. And we had the costumes with the kerchiefs and the dresses that went out to here with the petticoats and all like that. So we were an act. And then when I went to college, I square danced until I was a senior in high school. And part of what kept me there was all the good-looking girls went to square dancing class, so why not? So I'm in college now, and undergraduate.
Where were you?
University of North Dakota in Grand Forks, North Dakota. I got athletic and scholastic scholarships there. And so I made the football, baseball, and basketball team my freshman year. But I took dance and engineering as courses. That was going to be my major, dance and engineering. And it was a good combo. because in that dance department, there were 62 in the department, 60 women and 2 guys. And I was the only one that wasn't gay, okay? So I had a choice of 60 women in which to dance. So, of course, I picked the best dancers and the best looking, in my opinion. And so the 2 of us, Del Schneider and I, we were kind of the primo ballerino and the primo ballerina for University of North Dakota. And a lot of times, if like the North Dakota State Teachers Association was having a meeting or somebody else is having a state meeting at Grand Forks at the university, they'd always want entertainment, you know, and kind of highlight or showcase the university. So we did a lot of dancing in front of a lot of crowds. And so we had 12, maybe 15 different scenarios, different dances. We do the Charleston, we do the Lindy Hop, we had all sorts of dances. We had our props, our music, everything, our costumes. So we did a lot of things like that and had a lot of fun.
How good was that for your brain health?
Well, I think, well, dance, music, all that is really good for your brain health. And I know music, when you create music with an instrument, that's one of the highest forms of brain activity you can have. And so we did our own choreography as well. So we using music and having to coordinate your body with music, I think takes a lot of synapses of the mind for that to happen. So we did a lot
of neurons firing.
A lot of neurons firing, yeah. And what do they call them? Endorphins?
Endorphins.
Endorphins. I mean,
Yeah.
we're just elated. I mean, it was just a happy thing to do. Yeah. So.
And you're bonding, so that's oxytocin release from the female side especially.
Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And they're bonding, and they trust you more when they're releasing a lot of oxytocin.
And they had to trust you because we would do these things where I'd swing my leg over their head and pull them through between my legs and spin them around. They had to land on their feet. Yeah, a lot of stuff like that. You know, so there's a lot of trust just in the dance itself.
How did you go from all that physical activity to the aftermath when you had a job and then eventually a wife and kids? How did you transition to the period of much more responsibility and a lot less hanging out with athletic type people?
Well, I would say most of my life I've done things that required some degree of athleticism or just plain hard work, manual labor. I first taught school for a couple of years over in Norway when I graduated, but I coached the soccer team, the volleyball team, the basketball team, and I played on the local, we had the teachers put together a men's volleyball team, and we played the local association of volleyball players. You know, it was like a city league of men. And we were just the teachers at the international school. And we played against this one team that was a local team. One of their players was on the Norwegian Olympic volleyball team. Good God. He had a 48-inch standing vertical jump. He was only 6 foot, but if you get 4 feet underneath you and you come down and know how to slam, I blocked his shot once, and from that point on, I said, I'm not blocking. It hit me in the chest, knocked my wind out. I mean, it was a bullet. Yeah, and then I also, when I had kids, I coached soccer or football, international football, and we had to get certified. I had the highest certification to be a coach in soccer in Texas, and we had the guy who taught us, put together the soccer program for the U.S. Army. So he knew what he was doing. And he put us up against these golden teams of 18-year-olds and things like that. Oh, so it was tough keeping up with that too. And you don't want to get hit with a soccer ball that one of these kids kicked either, because they come like a bullet. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for those.
So how does one keep doing physical activity despite the kind of desk job and commute that a lot of people get involved in once they sign on the dotted line for their job or their career?
Job as an engineer or some sedentary job. Well, I know there's a place in Minnesota that had 400 employees, and everybody got a desk that was a 2 to 3 mile an hour treadmill, and they just walked all day long as they did their typing or writing or whatever. And collectively, they lost tons, I think, when they first introduced this idea. So there is ways of doing that. For myself, you know, I've been building houses, which is some degree, which when I started out, I did it myself, and then I got it as a contractor. So there was probably a period of time there where I was just, coordinating the efforts of subcontractors and all like that. And I do remember up in my weight during that time too. Then I got on things like Bill Phillips' Body for Life, which is a challenge where you see how much weight you can lose, and you got to use this product, and that was good. And actually, about 10 years ago, I won a national weight loss competition, got a trip in Italy out of it, spent 10 days in Otranto, Italy at a Club Med, which was really nice, all expense paid, just for losing some pounds and writing a note about it and taking a before and after picture. So,
What are the messages yours truly, Sifu Slim, shared with you a few years ago when we went out and did a maintenance type program?
well, I still have my white belt from it. And unfortunately, my life here in Hawaii, I didn't come here to work 7 days a week, but that's kind of how it's happened. And so I'm building houses 2, 3 days a week. I'm making cold pressed juice 1 or 2 days a week.
All natural stuff. Huh?
All natural stuff. And the thing is, all natural stuff in a 5-gallon bucket still weighs 50 pounds. And I do about 200 reps of 50 pounds every time I press juice. So, and it's not just, off the floor up onto the counter, but up on the counter through a chute from there and back. I mean, that's
how many days a week?
Right now, because of COVID, we closed down just to 1 a week. But still, our sales have gone up just because I think people are more conscious about their health more than anything. And other people are carrying it online, other companies, it's private labeled. I just manufacture it. There's a distribution company. They have their own retail outlet. But they've cut back from 7 days a week to 6 hours a week being open. And I think their sales has been pretty steady as well.
Up until what age were you mainly getting around and commuting by bicycle?
Well, up until about a year and a half ago.
So how old were you?
68. Yeah, I'm 70 now.
So you were doing bike and bus, where they put the bike on the front of the bus,
Right.
get off, get on your bike and mosey through traffic and get to where you had to go.
Yeah, I'd ride the bike from here for about 1.5 miles to get to the bus terminal in town, take it into town, and once I'm in town in Honolulu, I just take bike all over the place. I still do that in town. Although I bought a vehicle, I just still take the bus to town, so I don't have to deal with parking and that inconvenience. Plus, I can sleep or do work as we commute, and the 5 o'clock express bus is faster than cars, so take that. And once I'm in town, I take Biki, B-I-K-I. It's a subscription bicycle. They're all over the place, so I still do that.
All right, well, we'll come back for the garden tour. I'm going to halt this one
All
and
right.
Aloha, and we'll be right back with you.
All right.